No, no, yeah, no, no,
So, you have decided to become one of our Superwoman sisters. We are so excited to have you here and so excited to have you as one of our super mamas too. And perhaps you're wondering, where do I start? What do I do? Well, the first thing that's really, really helpful when we are starting into any kind of endeavor is to do a little bit of storytelling. And storytelling is really, really helpful for us because it helps us to understand what it is that we have been through in our lives and where it is that we're going. And this is helpful because it helps other people to understand maybe perhaps how they fit into our own stories. How can they be a part of this story as well? Are they going to be a character in our stories? And if so, what kind of a character are they going to be? So storytelling is really helpful. It's really powerful, and it's kind of an essential part when we are starting out, especially on any kind of empowerment journey when we are working to empower others. This is something that I have learned personally the hard way because while I love stories and love storytelling, I felt very much like I was not being humble when I would tell my own story. And I see so easily all of the falling down and all of the kind of ruts and poopy parts of the story along the way. And it was harder for me to see the empowering story that was actually there. So if you're feeling like after hearing this story, perhaps this isn't your story, I invite you to relook at your story and maybe look at the different frames that are possible to put around that story, because I think you're going to find a really, really, really incredible story of your own life that you get to share with others so that they can see how they too can be empowered to go out there and do the great things that they are being called to do. So, where did my story begin? Wow, let me tell you, this is where my story began. This is me. Let's see, in 2006 when my eldest son, Jack, was born. And you can see my wedding ring is there around my neck on that chain because I was so kind of large and out of control that I couldn't wear it on my fingers anymore. And I was at this point 225 pounds when I had him. I was tired out of my mind. And I was really confused about what was going on. And I was feeling like I really needed to control the whole situation. I love this woman. I love her desperately. I look at her with such admiration and incredible, incredible gratitude because it was not too shortly after this image was taken that I decided to go on my own empowerment journey and sort through some of the things that were going on inside of me. And I really actually did it out of service to my kiddo, my son there. And I I invite you to maybe look and see how we could actually do this for ourselves instead of always doing it for other people. I have not figured that out yet. So when you figure that out, you let me know, okay? So that's the beginning of my story. And this is where my own personal empowerment journey began. So this might be where a lot of the Superwomen sisters that are joining as members, this might be where they are, or they may be somewhere along that path. And it's just where we go into this space of saying, I'm going to take some time for me. I'm going to sort through what it is that's going on in my life. I'm going to honor myself and my own value and my own worth, um, and and really take that time to be there. And so this for me ended up becoming my time at the gym, which is probably one of the reasons why I love working out so much, because I gave myself the grace of 1.5 hours every single day at the gym, which was the max amount of time that I could go to the gym and have them watch my child. And that would be my time when I would just read my magazines and be by myself and take a shower and take care of myself and really feel that love and that nurturing and that nourishment that that the world wanted to give to me. And throughout my life since 2006, I have had a couple of times where I did not give myself a gym space or a workout space. And those are some of the roughest times in my life. And so for me, I have learned that that is an incredibly crucial space for me in order for me to be empowered to go out and continue doing the things that I wanted to do. So I went through this long journey of me figuring out my own stuff and kind of empowering myself and sorting through my own emotions and who I was meant to be and how I was going to be dealing with the other people that were around me and all this kind of stuff. And we fast forward then into 2014. We had just moved back. We'd been overseas for, gosh, I don't even know how long, like maybe 5 or 6 years at that point, 5 years at that point. And we had just moved back from Japan and we had moved into the DC area. And I was really empowered and I was called to go and do some stuff and really help out with the world because I was like, okay, I know what I am and I know how I'm supposed to do this. And the Ebola crisis hit. And I was really passionate about doing something about the Ebola crisis and also the refugee crisis that kind of came out in the news right after that. So, for those of you that might not know, the refugee crisis that happened in 2014 was in response to a lot of the stuff that was happening in Syria, especially at that time, and sectarian violence. And it saw a huge movement of people that were really just, they were just regular people. They were like me, and they were displaced from their country because of this sectarian violence. And so I felt really, really called to do something about this and also about the Ebola crisis that had been ongoing. So I reached out to some decision makers and I said, hey, let me help. I can help out in some way. And up until then, I had been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years, which, as we all know, is a really, really, really hard job. And you learn a lot of skill sets during that time. And I had done a little bit of contract work for the government as well, but I really had mostly been that really soft, feminine stay-at-home mom. Although I don't know if my kids would call me soft, but that was where I was. And when I contacted these organizations, they said, we don't want your help. And I said, well, I can do so much. I'm really good at organizing groups of people. I had done a lot of volunteer work of organizing the families. I said, I can really get a lot of people around you. I can do all of this wonderful stuff. And they said, we don't want your help. And it was at that point that I started realizing that I could be as empowered as I wanted to be. But if the people that are in authority positions or decision-making positions, if they aren't also empowered to bring in the feminine voice, then I would not be able to have a voice in that situation. And so what I did at that point was I really started working with organizations around the world to help them to develop programs that would allow women, especially, and especially the feminine voice, into what it was that they were doing. So when I say the feminine voice, this is something that's really important about this because we don't just empower women, we empower women to be very feminine. So one of the things that's happened as women have gone forth into the workplace more is that they've really taken on the masculine archetype characteristics, which is totally understandable. And it's something that a step that needed to happen basically in order to get women into the workforce and get women into those decision-making positions. However, one of the things that's happened with this is that a lot of those women have really poo-pooed and not allowed their feminine qualities, those feminine archetypes that are in them. And I was certainly one of those women. And it's something that I continue to work on balancing between. And so, what I realized at that point was that it wasn't enough to be empowered myself. It wasn't enough to actually get women, people who have ovaries, into the workforce, but we needed to really actually get that feminine voice, that softer, wiser, patient, kind, loving voice into decision making. And so this started on my journey to actually then work in advocacy and work with organizations around the world to really empower that feminine voice. And something that's really interesting there as well is the men that are yearning actually to allow that part of themselves to come out too. And these are what we call men's men. These are like those really strong masculine types that see that they also want to be able to incorporate those feminine archetypes into them. So when we think about women that are going into the workforce, a lot of us really have to learn how to be a little bit hard and a little bit direct and straightforward. And those are some more of the masculine archetypes. So the feminine archetypes are the ones that are kind of soft and giving and have a lot of emotional intelligence and all of that sort of stuff. And so when we go and we go into these places, we are really working hard to advocate for that feminine voice and support that feminine voice as well and empower it to also be in the decision making positions. And we know from a lot of research that this actually makes much better decisions and it makes decisions that lead more to peace and stability in the regions when we empower those women with the feminine voices to actually speak up and be heard in those places. And so I, with a few other incredibly fantastic women, started going into those places and started saying, okay, so we need to actually empower this feminine voice that's there. And this has led me into some amazing, fantastic adventures. You can see me here with some incredibly wonderful, strong, amazing, wonderful woman in Moronga, Kenya, who are working very hard to empower that feminine voice in their community as well. And you can also see me here at the Blue Economy Conference, a Sustainable Blue Economy Conference in Nairobi with another amazing woman from a fantastic organization that's there in Kenya. And there we are working to really empower that feminine voice in our communities. So when we talk about this story, it's really a story that kind of has two parts. That first part is about empowering ourselves and sorting through what is this that's going on in the inside? What are the things that are my limiting beliefs? What are the things that are pulling me forward? How can I actually be empowered to do all of this, all of these things that I'm kind of being called maybe to do? How can I even figure out what those things are that I'm being called to do? That's kind of the first part of the journey. And that's really that space of coming in and interacting with our products that we have and learning from them. And it's an ongoing space. It's something that we continue to do. All of us, even here at INA and in the Superwoman Club, we continue to enter into this space and allow ourselves that gift as well. And also then subsequently, how do we go out there and bring this very feminine voice into decision making and into the places where it needs to be heard in order for those decisions to create that peace and stability that is really yearning in the world right now. So now you know my story. I invite you to maybe look at and understand that I told this story very differently for a very long time in my life. And it's still a little bit hard for me to look at this story and see the amazing story that it really is, because I see all the places where I could have learned more, I could have done more, I could have grown more. And so I invite you to look at your story of empowerment. Where did this really begin? Where did you start going into this place of really loving yourself and listening to that voice inside and growing all of the amazing things that you've grown in your life? Because I swear to you, you have grown amazing things in your life. Please see those things. And where are you going? What's calling out to you? Clearly, you're looking for some empowerment and empowering other women around you and empowering that feminine around you. And that is amazing and fantastic. And what is that to you? What does that look like to you? And if you don't know, that's wonderful, because that means that we're running into the unknown, which is where we should be. I invite you to start thinking about that story and thinking about your story in those terms of empowerment, because that's a story that everyone in your network is going to want to hear. They're going to eat it up because everyone is looking for this right now. And we want to be able to go out there and help them as they're going along this journey. All right, that's all for now. Have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing, amazing day. And I'll see you next time.
No, 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 yeah, no, no.